Hello everyone, welcome back to our another lesson about M behavior. As I mentioned in the previous lesson, we are going to use several lessons to talk about the graph of polynomials. So one of the things we are going to analyze is M behavior. So yesterday we had a very brief introduction about M behavior, and today I want to continue this conversation and let's see how do we actually analyze the random uh, and behavior for any polynomials. And next lesson, we are going to discuss more about the pattern we can have without, so sometimes without the graph of polynomial, we can also analyze the end behavior too. So let's focus on today's lesson. Let's check. We are going to have three graphs of polynomials, and let's check what are the end behaviors for these functions, okay? So, as I mentioned, and behavior, the keywords actually is and. So that means we are focused on how the final ending part, the ending part of the graphs. So like this part and like this part. So we always focus on what happened to the right side, what happened to the very left side. We don't focus on too much about in between because in the future, since we are going to talk about graph of polynomial, we're definitely going to discuss more about this. But for end behavior, we only focus on the ending part. So as I mentioned yesterday, so for the right side is actually talking about as x increases. So what happened to y? And for the left side, we actually talk about as x decreases because that side, x becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. So as you can see, for the right side, y is actually, if you just, when we talk about y, always think about the vertically y. This is actually going up. So that's why y increases. And for the left side, as you can see, y is actually going down, so that's why y decreases. So you may wonder, that's it? That's actually for the wording part, this is end behavior. However, as I mentioned, in math, we always have our language. That means we use symbol to just simplify our, writing part. So instead of writing these two words here, we can also just say as when we see increases meaning x approaching to this arrow meaning going infinite, meaning going positive infinite. So you can imagine if we just keep going, keep going, it's gonna be forever. It's gonna be very big number. So I just want to remind you again. Let's write in the red here. This one is called infinity. Let's continue. So then y increases, meaning y is approaching to infinity. Sometimes if you don't want to use positive infinity to tell the difference between negative infinity, that's also fine. And for probably some students not figure out. So for the decreasing part, it's going to be approaching to negative infinity, and y decreases, so that's why y is approaching to negative infinity. So that part we cannot save the negative. We cannot say can I write also infinity? No. So this actually just tell us the two directions. One is going positive, one is going negative. So let me write down here. Maybe that will help you too. So this is going positive. This is going negative. This is two directions, right and left side. This is also the same because that's always the two direction we are going to analyze. Let's check the second one. So again, whenever we analyze end behavior, we always focus on the ending part, which is the very, very right side and left side. So right side. I write down the different thing, but we're actually talking about the same. I just want to give you the different idea to make sure you understand this. So this time I'm still going to use two ways to describe it. One is in word and the other one is going to be a symbol. So as we mentioned, we always focus on as x increases,
as x decreases, we always focus on the left side and, sorry for the handwriting. We always focus on the left side and also right side to make sure everything is to check how y changes. So if we pay attention to this time is as for the right side, when x getting bigger and bigger, y is actually going down. So that indicates y decreases. And for x decreases, I mean for the left side, as x going to -10, -20, -1000, as you can see, y is actually going up. So that means y increases. You see, sometimes y actually acts very different compared to the x. Okay, now I'm going to change it to the symbol. You know what? Let's use a different color to demonstrate the symbol here. So as x increases, remember is always, if you want to put a positive infinity to tell the difference between that, that's perfectly fine. So this time y decreases, meaning y is actually going to negative infinity. And again, since we always focus on the right and left side, that's always positive infinity, negative infinity. But y will behave actually different because y increases this time, so it's positive infinity. Okay, so the last one, I'm going to use only symbol here to describe this. I believe many of you probably have a very good sense of how M behavior. Again, we focus on the right side, we focus on the left side. Let's see how Y changes based on the different side, or we see how the X changes. Side. Okay, so again, as I mentioned, I'm going to use only symbol here. So we always focus on as x increases, meaning approaching to the positive infinity, as x decreases, which is approaching to negative infinity. So let's check how y changes. When x approaching to the infinite, positive infinity, meaning getting bigger and bigger, which is right side. So y is actually going up, right? So that means y is approaching to positive infinity. Again, we don't see, as you can see, we don't actually use a word, but this arrow here meaning approaching, meaning it is going where. So, and for the left side, let's check. For the left side, again, y is also going up. Like the one we use mentioned like a u, right? Like final part is like a u. So it's still approaching to positive infinity. Okay, so this is how do we analyze the behavior with its graph. So as I mentioned, in the future lesson, we are going to talk, what if I don't have graph? Then how can I analyze the end behavior? How can I predict how y changes when x decreases or increases? That's something we are going to discuss in the future. But today we use a graph and to analyze how do we check y changes when x changes, okay? I hope this video is helpful. See you soon, everyone. Take care.